graduated, elevated. Now it's my time to shine, yeah, let's go. Major moves, power moves, take it to the top one time, non-stop.
Hello and welcome to PhD Hard Talk. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Could you please introduce yourself, your research, what you're about, and we can start our conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Noma. My name is Jeffy Fernando, and I researched on breast cancer. That's my PhD thesis from the University of Melbourne. It's fully funded by the university and also by the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Yeah, I'm passionate towards science and research and giving back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in terms of your research then, I guess the first question is, why a PhD?
For me, PhD is a skill, the highest degree, and you can earn all the skills that you need then to solve any problem, and you can give back to the community with novel strategies and outputs.
Excellent. So then it brings me on to the next question, which is breast cancer, because I've read your abstract. Why breast cancer?
Well, while at that time when I started PhD, I think many PhD students don't understand these. We don't really have the luxury to select a lot on the topic. Cancer research is where I started off, and I found a wonderful mentor come supervisor at that time during my master's, and he was researching in breast cancer, and that's what led me into breast cancer research. And then I learned a lot, and I loved the contributions that those research do to the community.
Excellent. And in terms of identifying the research gap, then to be quite specific with in terms of what you looked at, how did you go about with that?
Yes, so breast cancer, many may think that it is much more curable or not as fatal as many other cancers that patients suffer from. And for breast cancer, there are things which is not curable and very aggressive. So we looked into what is that which currently do not have a cure and what makes it very difficult to cure. And breast cancer, when they start spreading to the bones, it can be very, very detrimental to the patients. And this is where there was at that time no research at all. Of course, no research that will solve the problem. There had been a lot of research, but when they say that's the aggressive cancer, then there's pretty much nothing they can do. And if they see that it's spread to the bones, you can't do anything about it. It was the most difficult cancer, which did not have any clinical 100% recovery or remission for those patients. And that's my approach to find where the most difficulty is. And at that time, the expert skill the lab had was in a very novel field. And I was working, this is beyond my thesis that I've given to you. This is from my master's, where it's again published. And it was a new novel gene, in a simple way we say, which had so much potential as a therapeutic target. And so we explored that for the most aggressive cancers in a hope to support those patients.
So in terms of your findings then, what were the 3 key interesting findings that even now when you look back, you're like, that was really interesting in your opinion?
This ties up a little bit, my response is a bit of science and a bit of PhD. Like during my PhD, when I started, we were all led by, like every other research, where preceding results and data, and we were hoping to follow a direction, which I think I battled for 8 months, and my supervisors were very supportive, and they're like, oh, the data looks this, let's go towards this direction. And so we tried all the experiments, which just took us to a dead end, and I could not tease apart like why it behaves this way. And we had to redesign our hypothesis. I'm like, let's do some quick experiments to see if this is what it is. And it totally changed the dogma in the sense that my findings from that PhD was against what any cancer book will say. So if they understand that this road takes to destination X, what I found was this road takes to destination A versus X, which is totally opposite directions. For PhDs, that's what it's like. Most of the times in research, we don't go where we think we are going, but keeping the mind open and with all the perseverance, I was able to get where I wanted to. So the finding, which is significant, and also changed the way many of the clinical trials at that time were tested. I've told you two, and the third one is the future of many research in that field changed after that publication.
So how did that make you feel, knowing that you haven't gone down the route that many have followed, and essentially you found something that is quite unique? Did you have a bit of fear to say, how do I then articulate this? Is everybody going to buy it in, or they're going to go, oh no, that's not it?
I think I should give this credit to my supervisors who are the pioneers in that field, and definitely for PhD, you need that support. You're never going to talk anything aloud against the current dogma as a PhD student without any support. So my PhD supervisor, he is a pioneer in the field, and he's found some great findings in that same field. So his support and his guidance helps me to say what I found loudly, and also his networking and partnership with other collaborators helped us to tie in another research work which went hand in hand in the same journal. And I think these supports helped taking this counter to dogma findings to the community.
Lovely. So, just to follow on your comment, would you say having a really good supportive supervisor makes a difference in terms of your PhD journey, especially when you are unsure whether you've found the right thing or the wrong thing? Because sometimes we ask ourselves that question, say, is this right?
Yeah. Definitely yes, to answer to your question. And it is the trust they have on your skills. Like, they understand that as PhD students, we're not bringing all those Nobel Prize ideas in there, but anything that we say, our readings, again, students keep ahead of their supervisors on their readings. They read a lot about this one topic that they're working on. The trust they have on your skill sets, knowing that you've not made any technical error, and also the understanding of, yes, you read science articles and articulate it to your supervisors in a way that supports your data. So that's where that intellectual conversations start beyond, have you done your experiment properly? Have you done this? Have you taken your controls properly? So having that strong skill and basis to nullify any human error and building that trust will help us to go through these phases very easily.
Excellent. So, going to your research methods then, how long did it take for you to go through the process? And did you have to use any mice, during your experiments? What was the process like for somebody who's saying, I want to go into breast cancer, I want to do that research, and maybe it's from influence from a family member or just their community in general? What did that look like?
This takes me back to my master's degree, where I earned all the skills in breast cancer. Where I started, I know nothing about cancer research. I know nothing about in-lab experiments. So building the strong skill sets helps me to do this research for anyone. I've seen candidates who say, I'm passionate towards this research because I've lost someone in this and I want to contribute more. That's nice, and that passion will keep people go far beyond all the hurdles that they face in their daily life, but also enhancing your skills, like what is needed for me, like what is available around me. I would go and support other experiments or other students' projects while I was doing my master's to say, can I do this and learn this technique, or can I understand this? Having that learnability is very important. And I always go from a place of learning. Anyone it is, like they have something to give back to you if you approach them in the right way. So whenever someone's passionate towards research and they know nothing about it, start building that capability. Always have that intuitive learning and your curiosity to learn more and learn more skills. Sometimes I've seen people like, oh, I'm not going to use this skill, but every skill will help you in one form or the other in the future. If you learn a technique, okay, maybe you're not using the technique, but you understand more about the technique to write another review in your PhD, where you can say, this is not my space, but there are other technologies that assist this treatment. So learn as much as possible and start to build that capability early on. Don't wait for a PhD enrollment to tick off and then start research. That would be my recommendation.
So essentially, we need to work on our soft skills in terms of being personable.
Yeah.
You know, in order for us to,
I think, the first one is you got to be personable. That's right. And everyone's time is critical, and time is money. We all know that when someone's talking to you about something, when they're sharing their knowledge, it's very, very valuable for you. And we would not imagine on how much it helps us in various other things. Like I can say, the PhD skill helps me navigate to this relationship in my personal life. Would someone believe this? Yes, but it takes its own shape and form to make you a person you are after your PhD, definitely.
So, you know, I've come to learn of this recently. I didn't think about it in this way, which was, as a PhD, we are entrepreneurs because we have to convince the room, essentially. Yeah. So every time we speak to somebody, essentially, it has to be a 3-minute pitch deck, or you know, an elevator pitch. What are your thoughts on that? Just following on from what you're saying, do you think it to be true, or do you think, do you know what, I don't think so?
Definitely it's true. Again, you've heard the right things, and I think that's where many people fail to begin with. Like if you're, and what I learned from others is, if you're able to at any time make a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old understand what you're doing, and that's going to be the best learning for you, and you will convince anyone going forward. And when I say anyone in any research, end of the day, you take it to the community who are lay people. And at some point, when you want to bring a change in a policy, you take it to the leaders who know nothing about science or any expert field. They are very good in leading, but they have 2 minutes to listen to you. If you lose that 2 minutes, you're going to lose them and that golden opportunity to make a difference. If you're going to take your research to a big pharma or any industry, again, they're all time poor. So definitely the pitch helps in taking our research to the next level. Anyone who wants to take their research beyond a publication, maybe at conferences, in-house sessions, they have 30 minutes to talk and convince people. But those are not the people who support us and for whom we do this research. That's the key point there.
I love your response. So the person who shared that learnings with us, because it was on a different program, was a Professor Glenn, and he's been an entrepreneur, started his business, and then has come in essentially in business to be a professor. And when he said that, it made me think, actually, every time I meet somebody, like I've met you today, I should be able to say, well, this is my research in a simple sentence, and you get it. If I need funding, get there straight on. And I was just thinking about breast cancer, because, you know, I interviewed somebody who's had cancer and has started a charity, and his concern was that as scientists like yourself, essentially you lose out on the community. They themselves, you're able to articulate it from a scientific perspective, but when you speak to the patients and you're saying, this is why I'm doing the research, it's just over their heads. They don't get it. And he's trying to be a mediator, essentially, to explain what the science is to the people, to say, this is what they're working on, that this is the aim, this is the vision, and this is the objective, essentially what you're saying, which brings me on to the next question. which is what is oncology? Because if you're not from a scientific background, you wouldn't know what that is. Essentially, you'd have heard of it, maybe on Grey's Anatomy, but you would know what it means.
I'll give a try at this question. Oncology, like biology,
Yeah.
like anthropology, like any GY, it's a learning of onco means cancer. So oncogenes, oncotargets, all these oncosuppression. So onco means cancer, and any study relevant to cancer is called as oncology studies.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying. And in terms of the tumours then that you were looking at when I was reading through your paper, is that how do I check myself as a person, at home? Because we've been told, oh, you can, feel your body, and if you feel a lump, then that's that. But sometimes, you go on Google and you search and you go into a panic state and you get there, they just got, oh, it's just a bit of saliva that's gone in your mouth, you don't have anything. Then you walk away, but you've been through anxiety for 7 days just to waiting for that appointment. I'm not saying you're a clinician or anything, but do you have any advice for us?
Well, disclaimer is yes, I'm not a clinician and I'm not a practitioner. First advice is go meet your GP. But I would take you to another world other than science here. It's like human body is a very, very interesting machinery where if we connect with our own self, we can feel each of our cell in our body. There's million, billion, trillions of cells in your body. So you can feel and you listen to your body is something I strongly advocate. And I've had family members when I started cancer research and how do I know, like, do I have breast cancer? Don't panic. To begin with, when you start panicking, your immune system goes down and that will give way for many other problems in your health. What my GP told me is you can feel your body, and if you feel something unusual, if you feel like a solid ball or a whatever, the marble feeling that will roll, then that's cancer, breast cancer when it comes. So that's my GP told me. But again, I go for my assessments with my GP because they are the experts in it and they will be able to tell you that. But one thing is cancer doesn't come overnight. It takes months and years to build on. And I'm using this space to talk more to the community where as long as you keep your immune system high, there's always these bad cells in your body which does wrong things. And when all these get together in a same place, I call it like a rogue in the community. As long as there's a balance between the safety and the social, legislation and police and everything is under control, then there's always a balance and there's no big chaos in a city. But when in a city, the laws break down and the social justice break down, all the rogues get together, that's when there's a big problem. And that's the exact thing that will happen in our body for cancer. Because cancer cells are more like rogue cells in our body, which stop to do what it has to do, and it starts growing very fast together. Like if there is a small lump, then it'll grow slowly, and if they have a little bit bigger mass, then it becomes very big in a very short time, in a multiple-fold exponential growth. This is how I tell people. So as long as you are conscious of your body and you have your routine clinical checkups, make it regular, not like after 5 years and all of a sudden when I fall into an anxiety, someone goes into, oh, now I feel like there's something wrong, but they have left it years together. Balancing your immune system in a very healthy manner without all these anxiety, trauma, stress, negative informations, everything can put off your immunity. And not many people seem to talk about it because there's no research evidence. You need research evidence to publish, but to live a healthy life, anything that people say and it sounds good in the sense no harm for anybody and yourself, you can very well practice it. You don't have to wait for a peer-reviewed journal to start doing the right thing for your health. And I think that's what I'm passionate towards. And my biggest wins and success I've seen is when I've told a family member on, this is what it is, don't panic in terms of cancer, take care. And then they come back to say, oh yeah, I'm really feeling well. And even I have family members who have been patients in the past, and they take my words so religiously. I come from a culture where doctors are God or considered as God because they save lives. And what do I do? Do I have a problem? And yes and no, you have a problem, but let's look at it, practically, how do we move forward? And that boosts up their confidence and immunity. And in turn, it helps their recovery. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's you don't have to wait till there's a problem. Every day, take care of yourself, connect with your body, feel yourself, and do the right things. That is all we can do and within our control. Sorry, it's a big response, but it's a new world. And I took the opportunity to talk this out because prevention is my passion. And I'm like, we do so much. And as I learned my PhD, I felt like, oh, we are learned and everyone listened to us. I've had people to me in the public transport when they see my ID card still hanging there. Do you work there? Oh, God bless. And then they start asking about how can I be healthy? How can I prevent myself from disease? So I'm like, if only we all can go out and talk half an hour a week to public like this, it might bring a big difference in terms of prevention. And that's why I use this space. Thank you.
No, I appreciate your response, because when I spoke to Chris, he said that's the challenge he has, because after going through, the battle of being told he had cancer to going through the battle of you're okay now, you're going to live, and then him realizing that there were communities in terms of, and I will use the word brown people because there's always a change. You can't say black, you can't say BAME, you can't say this. So I'll say brown people. He's realized that there isn't that much out there in terms of getting the message out and getting the checks out. And I'll use the analogy of an MOT test. You get your car done every year. Why can't you get your body done? Essentially, is the question. But we as a community sometimes we're a bit slow when it comes to getting our body checks done. And then it's and I'll use the words too late in the game to then figure it out. So I think it's to have somebody that's really passionate, that's pushing the message out, it's actually a blessing. It's not a benefit, it's not an inheritance. It is actually a blessing, because there isn't a lot of people that will come out and say, look after yourself, don't do this, do this. This is way better. Disclaimer, I'm not a GP, I'm not a clinician, but if you do A, B, C, D, it's bound to work out. Which moves me on to the next question, which is, there are a lot of influencers that, I'm sure you've seen them, who be like, oh, do pineapple juice. It will help you because it's acidic. It will kill all the, the cancer cells. What are your thoughts on that? Because sometimes, for me personally, I think it can be misleading, because if I'm going to drink lemon and ginger for the next 3 months and I'm like, oh, I've killed everything now, I don't have to go to the GP, I feel like it's not in my best interest. But, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely don't support such things. So just out of context, I don't diet. I don't follow any dietings, or I don't go hard on gym, because I realized over the time when I went into gym, my muscles started, yes, it just tuned a little bit, but then it started building, and that's my body. Nobody told me about that. People told me, you got to go to gym to lose weight. That is all they said, but that doesn't work for everyone. Sometimes your body is different. It's made up in a different way that you might build muscles. And dieting, yes, you can do crash this. At one point in my life, when I realized what I am, what I'm made of, and I made this choice of, I will only make changes to my life, which becomes my lifestyle change, not as a crash things, go here, go there. Because things that you're trying to kill, trying to break, trying to reduce are not the things that came up overnight. So 7-day meal or a 7-day diet plan, or even 3 months, is not going to help. And at the same time, human body is a holistic body. Again, I'm going to play devil's advocate, where I was struggling hard when I did research, because you're looking at this one particular cell, but what is the interaction of this cell in a human body? Like there's immune system involved in it, there's hormones involved in it, which is very minimal, I think, to my knowledge, because hormones are fascinating. Your environment can drive your hormones. Your environment can decide if you're happy or sad, which being happy again reflects on your immune system. So would someone believe that your environment can make you immune strong? No, but it's all built up together. It's more like that butterfly effect. It's like you wouldn't know where it starts, but it's all interlinked. But what these influencers say is that do this, do that. I'm like, well, this is part of a bigger picture. We miss the bigger picture. And I've had, without compromising on anyone's privacy and confidentiality, I've had some treatments. I've seen some doctors do some treatments, again, not all doctors, or something. Okay, you're doing this to this organ. What happens to that organ? Oh, we don't know about that organ because this is our protocol. So sorry to anyone who gets offended by this, but using that common sense on we're doing one for one organ, what happens to the other body parts? Like someone's weak and they say, oh, you're very weak, eat protein, and then you will kill your kidney straight away. When you're weak, your kidney also loses the ability to digest and everything. When you eat all red meat for 2 weeks, how is your kidney going to cope up with that? Someone's telling to eat protein to build your energy of your body, but they're not talking about your kidney. So take that, this is a good example, I think, and I've seen people do that. That's where you're focusing on one and you're losing everything. As I said, connect with your whole body and see what works for you. Don't go harsh on anything. Find a balanced diet is what we've been educated since child. And work with the sun is another thing, which is not spoken very well of, but I again realized it from my own body. Our body is meant to work with the sun. That's why we sleep when the moon comes down or comes up. And that, according to that, working with the sun, you got to sleep between 12 to 3 p.m. window. It's better for you not to eat when the sun goes down. And it's better for you to leave the gap, that necessary gap between meals. When you look at all these things, already those influencers or their tips and tricks are defeated. Oh, it doesn't support my whole body, it doesn't support this system, or it doesn't support. And sometimes, again, I grew up in a culture where food is medicine, so I can be partial towards that. But till today, that has helped me and my family to be better immune during the common flu season, and that's helped us beat many things. And I personal experience was once diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which is genetic disease, and when you get it, it doesn't go away, it stays with you for your life. But after 6 months of another same x-ray showed, oh, you don't have rheumatoid. And the doctor, I'm like, can you please give me an explanation? And they're like, oh, we don't have an explanation. So yes, everything is to support us, not to scare us, but use your common sense and try to have that balanced food and everything. That will help you. One diet or one crash thing. When the problem is there, the problem is there. All these remedies definitely are not strong enough to cut down the problem or remove the problem from us. And that's why early on, when I said connect with your body, it's not like one day treatment or one day change. Treat your body well and it will treat you well to its full capacity. That's it.